Welcome, guys. I am so happy right now. Today is Friday. It's going to be an amazing weekend. It's been an amazing week. And sometimes it's nice. I love having guests on, but sometimes it's nice just getting to hang out with you guys and talk to you because, hey, sometimes I just want to talk about what I want to talk about. And if you've been a fan of the channel, hey, Baba Geek, good to see you, man. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that sometimes I kind of just go from one topic to the next and just kind of do that. So that's just part of I guess my style and how I like to do things. So I just want to say happy Friday to you. I'm going to actually just type it in here. Happy Friday. Yes. And just make sure that the chat is working. Sometimes the chat doesn't work and that's kind of weird. If you're there, let me know you're there. Say happy Friday. There it is. Good day, Rye. All right. So basically today we're going to be talking a little bit about Wim Hof. I'm just going to talk about Wim Hof Method. I'm going to talk about Wim Hof Method. Ever tried alcoholic kombucha? I think that's interesting, Moose Mans, that you would call it, not necessarily you wouldn't call it like, the alcohol included or, but alcoholic, like really like, what are we talking about in the chat? Okay. So we got so Papa Geek's got a nice stout. I've got right now, it's going to be a long night for me. I've got, it's going to be a big weekend. I'm not drinking alcohol right now. I'm drinking one of these, this is I don't want to give them any kind of a ad boost or anything like that. I like to drink these little Celsius little drinks, little fizzy waters here. I have never tried alcoholic kombucha, but I have had really, I've had kombucha with some, or kombucha. How do you guys pronounce it? I can't hear you. So I've had the kind with alcohol in it, and it just depends on how people prepare it. Anyway, cheers to everybody. Cheers. Happy Friday. We're going to talk about Wim Hof Method today. We're going to talk about, guys, I'm fired up. I've also got this little device here that I've been trying out. So I'm going to throw this at you. I am like hooked on this. This is the LUMEN. It's called LUMEN. I actually was able to get a chance to try this. I've been trying it for about a month now, and it's really a cool way anything that I can do to kind of measure things. And so it's really kind of a cool way it gives me some feedback on my metabolism. By the way, going back to measuring things, I did 2 tests. I don't know if you guys remember this, 2 tests on my testosterone. And I was like, my testosterone, both these tests came back low. And I was I was really kind of sad about it because I didn't want to have low testosterone, but then I went in and I actually got a blood test done. So I went in, said, take it from here. Let me know what's going on. And I'm happy to report we're flying high, guys. It's not just like, okay, you don't have low testosterone. Like they said, we found all of those little, like all of the red blood cells in your bloodstream, they all had beards. That's basically what they told. I mean, maybe they didn't say it exactly like that, but I mean, what's up, Mackenzie? Nice to have you here. So anyway, so all my blood cells have beards, and they're bearded Viking warriors just flowing through my veins. So I am going to take another one of the tests from base. They're supposed to be sending that to me soon. And then I'm going to test that again. And we're going to find out, guys, we're going to find out just how accurate it is. It could be that I had low, maybe my testosterone was testing like verifiably low. And then maybe the changes I made really blew it up. But then I don't know. It could be that it just wasn't an accurate test. So we're going to find out. I am getting to the bottom of this. I love the idea of any kind of thing that's going to help me test my biomarkers, because really when it comes down to it, awareness is, and you're going to hear this. Some of you guys are in my 6-week breath mastery class. Some of you guys have met me. I always love it whenever I meet one of you guys at a retreat. And actually, I'm going to talk about some upcoming retreats here in a minute. But some of you guys have met me, or you've worked with me in one way or the other, or you've been in a course or whatever. And you know that my mantra is awareness is the foundation of all positive change. You have to be aware of something, right? That's the first thing. You have to be aware of it before you can make any positive changes with it. And then in addition to that, you have to be able to be aware, is there, as I'm changing it, how am I changing it? Right? Am I changing it for the better or for the worse? Or is that even something that we should even call it? Is it better or worse? But basically, awareness is that foundation. So anything I can do to kind of test like where I am and see, of course, I'm a huge proponent, obviously, of introception, of learning to be aware of your inner voice, listening and finding out where you are on the inside. But this LUMEN device, so... And I think Hoffers are going to especially find this interesting. I'm going to be talking a lot about this. Let's see, not next week, but the week after that in my 6-week breath mastery course. So if you're in that, awesome. We're going to talk a lot about breath holds, CO2, the relationship between your pulmonary system and blood gas exchange. We're going to be talking about that. We always talk about that in, let's see, I'm in my 2nd cohort right now. Some of you guys are in it. Some of you are not. If you're not, and I know a lot of you guys reached out and said that the time of day, because it's at 2:00 on a Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time. So that didn't work for a lot of people with their schedules, and I understand. We're going to start our next cohort of the 6-week breath mastery course in June, and it's going to be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesdays for 6 weeks. So every Wednesday for 6 weeks, we get together. And basically, by the time you're done with the course, you've developed, really, you should have a very good working knowledge of all of the aspects of breath work so that you can have a really, what I would consider a perfect, and you're going to love it, like an idealized, perfect breathing routine for yourself. It's also the first step, the first required step of my eventual certification, which I'm coming out with. And actually, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on any public channel. Rusty, have I mentioned that at all? I don't know if I've mentioned that. So yes, I am going to be coming out with a certification for being a certified breath worker under my name, and it's going to be rather intense. If anybody's going to go out there and be a breath worker and put my name on anything, it's going to be very thorough. It's very science based, and it's going to be non-dogmatic and stuff like that. So well, stuff like that. But it is going to be something that is you're going to need to very much have your own personal practice in order to be able to help other people. So anyway, so that's going on. And so, hey, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Yeah, I did mention you, Rusty. Jesse, I met Jesse once. His beard is real. Thank you. Because, I get all kinds of conspiracy theories, it's good that I have someone out there that I can actually testify to the realness of my beard. No, you can't just reach out and tug on it like Santa Claus's beard. But anyway, so let's see. I love the class last week. Okay, Andrew, you're in the class. Awesome. Yeah, and let's keep the shirt on for YouTube. Thank you. Yeah. So during the class, we were discussing some techniques, and I took my shirt off, and it wasn't like it's not like gratuitous anything, right? It was just a show where you're supposed to be breathing. Sometimes it's difficult to really give a good demonstration unless you have your shirt off. No, guys, I'm kidding. I just wanted to have an excuse to take off my shirt and show off my my summer, my non-existent abs, my tan lines. Like, I have a constant tan line right here. Look at that. So anyway, but let's talk a little bit about the Wim Hof Method workshops that are coming up, and we'll talk about some of the aspects of the Wim Hof Method we're going to be discussing. What happened was, let's see. So it wasn't last weekend. It was the weekend before last. I was in North Carolina at Mandala Springs with Rob Linfesti. He is a good friend of mine and fellow Wim Hof Method instructor. He and I were both part of the very first ever class of instructors. So we had the distinct honor of being taught directly by Wim Hof. And it was, it was a crazy, crazy time. It took us we started our training in May of 2016, and we completed our master training in November of 2016. Climbed the mountain, passed all of Wim's crazy tests that he wanted us to pass. At the drop of a hat, anything could happen when you're hanging out with Wim, especially for as long as we were hanging out with him, learning directly under him. So he and I, after we got our certifications, we actually didn't work together for a while. And the thing is, especially early on, we're talking about early on, when it came to like the Wim Hof method, we're talking 2017 was kind of the first big year that instructors could go out and actually teach. I believe my first, because we got our verification, we passed our final tests. So we finished with Wim in November, and then we also had to take a written test. And finally, we eventually were like technically certified by the end of the year, 2016. So I was like, no, dude, I got to get out there and do a workshop as soon as I possibly can. I was just like, and I still am, I'm still doing it. But I was on fire. And so my first workshop was in February. So I only had a month to prepare, and it was, if you would have been at one of my first workshops, they were terrible compared to what my workshops are now. But anyway, so Rob and we kind of didn't work together for a while because he lives on the East Coast and I'm in the Midwest. And so then I forget when it was, I think it was 2019. I reached out to Rob and I was like, hey, Rob, let's do this. You're on this. I don't even remember exactly how it happened. I'll have to ask Rob how it happened. But basically, I reached out, or he reached out to me. I forget how it was. And we're like, let's do some workshops. So our very first, we're like, cool. First workshop we did together was February 2020 and so we're like, yeah, man, let's get this thing done. All right, it's February. Let's do it in April. And then we'll do, we had a bunch of grand plans. And dude, Andrew, thank you. Thank you so much. Andrew, let me tell you this. And this is derailing me a little bit, but Andrew just bought me a little chocolate. Okay. And I got to say, if you were on the live, I think last week, I had Rob, I was eating on, and I might have most of my chocolate. I'm down to like just how whenever, I don't know if you guys are like this, whenever you have a big supply of whatever your favorite treat is, like you just eat it like, well, I've got so much, I'm just going to eat it like crazy. And then you get down to the last little bit. You're like, okay, I'm just going to take a little bite. Okay, now I'm going to put it back, right? That's where I am. So Andrew, thank you so much, my friend. Oh man. But yeah, me and Rob, we were going to do a bunch of things in 2020. It just, of course, it got derailed, and it was just kind of it is what it is. So we put on the very first one this year in April. It sold out so fast that we put another one on in May. It's going to be the weekend of May 15th and 16th. And let's see here. Let me just double check that. But let me tell you a few things. Okay. So May 15th and 16th. 15th is going to be the Wim Hof Method Fundamentals Workshop. The 16th is going to be the Advanced Wim Hof Method Workshop. Here's the thing. Yes, there are two workshops, but anybody who is there can tell you that you want to get both of them because it's a full weekend kind of a retreat. Like, there's camping and everybody gets to know each other. So some people just did one day and then the other day, or just did a Saturday and just did Sunday. Most people who were planning, this is the cool thing though. Most of the people who went to the Saturday session and were just planning on just doing Saturday, most of them were like, okay, we got to do Sunday. Because the thing is, like, we do a lot of like the lecture, like, hey, this is what's happening in your brain. This is what's happening in your autonomic nervous system. We do a lot of that in the fundamentals workshop. With the advanced Wim Hof Method workshop, that's where we do the like Wim's version of altered state breath work. So if you've read my book, you know that I in my book I give one technique of altered state. I don't give a bunch of altered state instructions in my book, simply because I don't think it's safe just to kind of, I don't know who's going to read it. So I'm always scaling it. I'm always about safety. I believe in this movement so much, and I'm so passionate about it that I would hate it if like I, gave information out, and even though the information is already out there, but if someone got my book, did the breath work, and maybe they had a medical condition where they shouldn't have, or maybe sometimes whenever you do this style of, any kind of altered state breath work, sometimes you have such a powerful response. It's scary and it can freak you out. And if you're all by yourself, and it's unpleasant. And I know this because I do altered state breath work myself. And even after doing it for years, there are times whenever it is a little jarring and scary. So basically, it's really awesome whenever we can do it in a group. And we're doing Wim's style, the style that Wim Hof taught Rob and I. And I just want to, and if you saw my short from this week, if you haven't seen my short from this week, take a look at it. And in that, there is a session that you'll see at the very beginning where we're all out. There's these giant ancient stones that, and literally, I'm not even exaggerating. So I'm sitting and I'm actually kind of walking around, making sure everybody's in good shape. All right. Always checking in on everybody while I'm leading the breath work. But there's these giant ancient stones from the Appalachian Mountains. And you can kind of pick your spot in the forest and you lie down, you do the breath work. Meanwhile, Rob is pounding away on his drum, standing on one of these stones out here in like nature. It was just incredible, like just absolutely beautiful. And I can't think of any better environment to do this style of breath work. So anyway, so what happened was we're in danger of not having this event go. I don't know why it got dark so fast here. Anyway, maybe it's because we're in danger, right? So we're in danger of this thing not happening now, because what happened was our sign up links didn't work. So we were like, yeah, come to our event. And then people were like, cool, we're going to come to your event. And they were trying to sign up, but they couldn't. And so obviously, we don't know how many people that averted from coming to our event. So what happened was I actually do have some Eventbrite things that I had to kind of whip up at the last minute, and I'm going to put the Eventbrite things in the description box after I finish this video. And these links will work. And when you sign up for one of the sessions, you'll get a link, so you can. All you need is one of the links, and then you sign up for that one, and then in the actual email that you get, your confirmation email. I'm just going to put the fundamentals here real quick. There we go. So that's the fundamentals. And basically, once you sign up for that, in the confirmation email, it'll give you the link for the next day. So you can sign up for both days. A lot of people come in on Friday night. They'll camp Friday night, Sunday, and then Saturday morning. We don't start till 11 Eastern Standard Time. So you have a lot of just hang out and chill time. There was impromptu yoga happening. There was, one guy came with a handpan, and I even got to play the handpan, even though I'm not very good at it. But I got to play with it. I really, I got to kind of mess around. I brought my guitar. Rob, of course, plays everything. Rob, he plays everything. So, hey, let's see here. I'm going to take a look at some of these. Anyway, but I invite you guys to come to it. It's one of those things where, of course, we hope we can have it. but we do need a lot of signups to make it worth. Of course, I have to drive 8 hours to get there. And there's a lot of expenses that do come into play as far as putting these things on. So we have to have a certain number of people for them to actually happen. Generally, what happens is a lot of people sign up at the last minute, and so we have heart attacks until, okay, I guess everybody, I guess we are going to have it. So I don't expect it not to happen, but please sign up, please. So let's take a look at some of these comments, and then there's some other things I want to talk about today. All right. Lee, you're right. Sun's out, guns out. The thing is, though, I've got to work on where I put the sun on the gun. I don't know. Anyway, let's see here. Jesse, I know that is a daily theme, but can you talk about the Wim Hof method and COVID? So I did a video right whenever Sebastian, thank you for that question. I did a video on COVID on back whenever we called it the coronavirus. How primitive we were back then when we all we said was coronavirus. Now we are enlightened beings. Oh my! But yeah, I did a video on that, and here's the thing: when it comes down to it, and I gave the example, and I'll kind of just echo what I said because I really haven't changed as far as my position on it. When you do Wim Hof method, you are reinforcing your natural immunity. So it is absolutely, a amazing, wonderful thing to do for your immune system. I'm not going to sit here and say that is going to make you immune from everything because you can, anyone who's practiced Wim Hof method for any significant amount of time knows that the world, your body is not like that, right? So anytime you hear someone say, just do this one thing, and then, hey, you won't have any problems. I think Dave from, I don't know if you saw me and Dave Florence, we made a collaboration video this week about that. Don't count on this one thing to be your magic bullet. And I would say that for anything, depending, regardless of who is telling you to do it, whether it is a government source or some weirdo on some back channel or some friend that you trust 100% because this friend is really smart and knows his or her stuff. I don't think there's any one specific magic bullet to make you immune from everything, or I don't think there's also one magic bullet that's going to somehow destroy your immunity either. So it's one of those things where I think it's absolutely something that I highly recommend to do. And it's going to do nothing but improve your odds and improve your immune system. And so, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. Wim Hof method, obviously, for me, especially, this time of year it's the spring in the Midwest, whenever everyone is going outside and finally enjoying, the outdoors and sunshine and all these things. And I was always the sickly kid, and it was because of multiple things, but Wim Hof method was really what got me into a different life. So, and also I used to have ear infections all the time. And so, I don't have those. I haven't had it. I don't, and it's, I'll knock on wood or whatever the adage is, but I don't have ear infections anymore. It's something that I do protect my ears. I will say this, I do protect my ears when I go out into like outdoor exposures and things like that, but it's not something that I suffer from as I used to. And it didn't matter what I was doing. I just constantly had ear infections. Now the thing is, does diet come into play? Yeah, diet does come into play. Does sleep come into play? Yeah, sleep is huge. Does supplementation help? Yeah, supplementation helps too. So I don't think it's one thing is going to be your magic bullet. I think there are, obviously, if you've been listening to me this whole time, you know that I am first generation Wim Hof method instructors, and I'm still doing full force. And I believe in this, and I believe in the message that it's not just Wim Hof Method. There's a whole movement happening that's not being reported. And you might have heard me go on and on. I go on and on sometimes about this, but there is a movement that's coming out here that is, let's take responsibility for ourselves. And so the thing is, of course, with COVID and with all that, there's also a lot of people who, if you don't say the thing that they believe, then somehow you're a jerk. And I think that's the biggest jerk move you can do, right? Be nice. Don't be a dick. You don't know everything. So I think there's a certain degree of humility that we do need to bring to everything, every situation. But hey, there are some things that, at least for myself, I know, hey, it's done nothing but good. And you're very welcome, Sebastian. That's Sebastian saying, Jesse, you've talked about it long enough. Move on. But that's the fun of me not having a guest this week, because I can kind of go on and on. and so really this is another thing. This is why I do these lives a lot of times, because I like making the shorter videos. But I think that sometimes it's valuable for me to be able to kind of elaborate a little bit on these things. Just because sometimes it's hard to fit something into like a 5 or 10 minute video. It's sometimes better. And then of course you guys can we can interact. So, and Andrew can buy me chocolate, who is the man. I ought to go grab, since I have $5 coming to me for a chocolate bar. I ought to go grab chocolate from the other room, but I'm not going to right now. Because I'm trying to be strong. I'm trying to not eat chocolate all day, every day. Rusty says, if you can go to Mandala, definitely do it. Yeah, it is amazing out there. So yeah, definitely. We only have one more planned for the year when it comes to Wim Hof Method. And then we're working on this new concept that I'm really excited about. There's so many new things that, and I'm so blessed to be amongst a lot of these thought leaders now who we're coming out with these new ideas, new concepts. Rob and I are coming out with a new, with a new concept called the convergence. And I'm really excited to see how this is going. So how it's going to work out. Hopefully we'll get it all finalized as soon as possible, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking me, hey, when can I sign up for this? So let's see here. Jesse, I got the heads up from you on lung packing. That was beneficial for my cycling. Awesome. So cool. I actually was talking to there's actually my neighbor, and he does training for first responders, firefighters, and things like that. And he does a lot of their testing, right? So he's in charge of making sure they pass their physical exams. And a lot of this has to do with it's less about like, what's your BMI and all that, which is cool. It's like, can you do these things? And I just a little bit ago, he sent me his YouTube channel, and I'm going to go help his group learn to use their breath. So first responders, I'm working with a lot of different groups right now. Just because, again, I really do think breath work is going to change the world. And if we can learn to use, and it's not just one style of breath work. It's if we can really learn how our breath affects almost every other aspect of our physiology and psychology, man, I'm just really hopeful for the future. And so I'm going to go over there and try to pass their test. I was watching the test, and it's really kind of cool because you have to like drag a dummy that weighs, I think it weighs like 170 pounds. I don't know what that is in, what is it, liters? I'm teasing. But I don't know what that is in metric, but it's not as big as I am. I think last time I got weighed, I was like 215 pounds. I kind of oscillate. I'm trying to kind of slim down now. So I'm trying to kind of work my body fat down. And this, oh man, this is really, really informative. But anyway, so you have to drag a body, you have to break glass, you have to crawl through stuff. It looks really cool. You have to walk up a flight of like so many flights of stairs, carrying like 60 some pounds on your shoulders. And so I'm going to try to help them learn to use their breath to be able to focus better in those emergency situations. And then of course, pass the test too. So anyway, that later, let's see. Hey, let's see. Moose. Hey, I'm glad you liked that last video. Dave and I, we connected actually, and it's funny because I know a lot of people who watch my channel watch his channel and vice versa, and so we connected a few months ago, and we were trying to hatch up some ideas, and we came up with that idea. So I'm hoping to have him on the channel so we can just kind of have a chat and talk about stuff we're interested in. Dave's just a really cool guy, and it was just a lot of fun to make that video. So I'm all about making just fun videos too. So I want to make educational videos, things that are going to help a person learn to improve their practices and their health. I'm working on, just to kind of give you a few things I am working on. I've been having a lot of people ask me about grounding and earthing. And for the longest time, I've not wanted to touch that one because just because it can be one of those where, strangely enough, you can offend people on that one. I have done earthing for, well, pretty much my whole life. I've been a barefoot kid. I've always been like, if I can go barefoot, I will go barefoot. I actually, even to my sister's wedding, I wore flip-flops. And actually, I didn't do that just to be, a jerk. I was like, hey, can I wear, I asked, and she made me get a pedicure. so she made me get a pedicure, but but anyway, I just like letting them breathe. I like letting them breathe. So I'm going to be doing an earthing video. I'm working on that, and I'm going to try to make it kind of complete also on foot health, because your feet are connected to every other part of your body, right? Your toe bone is connected to your neck bone. Eventually, right? It's all connected. And it's interesting how sometimes you can have a dysfunction. A lot of times people have dysfunctions in their hip, the hip complex, and it gives them neck pain. Right. And it's like, well, how could that be related? Well, obviously, it's all related. Everything's related. And this is why, again, coming back to breath, this is why I'm so excited about it, because your breath is related to pretty much everything else too. Not everything, but there's so much that your breath is related to. So that's why I'm super excited about it. I'm volunteering, and big thanks to my Patreon subscribers, because you're helping me be able to do free things. So the more money I can make off of Patreon, the less money I have to worry about making elsewhere, right? And so I've been able to do some things for free. I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to start, and it should be monthly, with a drug rehabilitation program. Let me take a quick. Promise I'm not on drugs right now. But anyway, I'm going to be doing that with a drug rehabilitation program. We're going to be doing some breath work there. And I talked to my favorite neuroscientists about this as well. And so we kind of talked about, okay, so what are some things we need to work on? What aspects should I really touch on with the program I'm going to put them through? But it should eventually turn into something that's even bigger. So I am so excited to see where this is all going to go. And I'm so excited to be able to share with you. A lot of things I can't share with the public just yet, because I don't know if it's going to fall through or not, this or that, but it's going to be awesome. Things are really happening. So big thanks to my Patreon subscribers. If you're not in Patreon, it's super. If you just want to join at the lowest tier, we love to have you. And every month we do a private virtual, I guide you through breath work every month, guided breath work. And then there's like a whole catalog of pre-recorded. Some are short, some are long, some are super like almost psychedelic. Some of them are just a reset. Hey, I'm at work. I don't take a cigarette break. I'm going to take a breathwork break, 5 or 6 minutes just to reset the autonomic nervous system, get you back feeling good, rather than, slamming a bunch of coffee or smoking cigarettes or things like that. So, and Detroit's 470, of course I'm an angel, right? This audience, by the way, this tribe, I just feel really good knowing that there's a really good sense of humor amongst this group. Lee Wilson says, I've done Wim Hof Method for almost 2 years, and it helped me deal with sinus problems, etc. I understand that it's not a complete cure. I feel a lot better for it. That's a win, right? I used to feel worse than I feel today. Well, I mean, what more do you want, right? Like, and thank you, Lee. You're exactly right. You are absolutely correct. It doesn't have to be the cure and the be all end all and things like that. It literally is. Dan, thank you, my friend. Oh, mic drop. I love it, brother. I love it. So, but yeah, it doesn't have to be the be all end all, right? It can just simply be, hey, better is better, right? So I love that. And the thing is, I think sometimes in the world, and this is how I think that, this is how we sometimes trick ourselves into not making the efforts to really show up for ourselves, right? And so, for instance, we have to show up for ourselves. You have to do it. I mean, nobody can do Wim Hof Method for you. Nobody can eat your vegetables for you. No one can, no one can go to the gym and work out for you. No one can go run or jog or meditate or do your breath work for you. You have to show up and do it. The thing is, I think sometimes we get into this. I remember there's a guy I know, and he's a science teacher, and he was talking about supplements and how they don't work. Supplements don't work. And like, that's such a huge, broad statement. And it's like, well, what do you even mean by it works, right? So a lot of times a person sets this insanely high, goal, or I guess benchmark. If it works, it cures everything, right? And like, I'm just saying, it doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever to be great. So I love that, Lee. And Dan, thank you so much for that mic drop money. Let's see. So Papa Geek says, just go on and on. This is so nice to have as a background while cooking and drinking. A really good stout. Papa Geek, I admire just, first of all, your beard. You've got such a cool little picture. You're very patient with me when it comes to my inability to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, and you're encouraging whenever I try and fail. So yes, enjoy that stout. Enjoy it, my friend. And I'd love to know what you're cooking. I will say that sometimes having a good stout or any kind of a little nip, little like have a beer or something right before you eat as you're cooking. So anyway, all right. So Andrew says, we will change the world. Yes, here it comes. We will change the world, brother. This right here is the foundation being set. Exactly. And here's the thing. You're going to remember, I think we're going to look back at this time and everybody, if you ask a lot of people, and here's the thing, I'm not going to sit here and say there are not tons of problems in the world, right? Because absolutely there's problems everywhere. I mean, you just, and guess what? We just love problems, don't we? And this actually comes back to our neural programming as our original programming. So here's an interesting point. So let's diverge on this for just a minute. So one of the things that if you read my book, I talk a lot about our Neolithic ancestors and our autonomic nervous system and a lot of those things. But something I want to talk about real quick is the fact that part of have you ever noticed, okay, here it comes. Have you ever noticed how when there's a problem, we instantly want to look for who's at fault, right? Or why did this happen? As opposed to, anything else. That's all we can think about, and we can justify it. And there's nothing wrong with having at least, hey, what's the problem? Where did it come from? How can we keep it from happening again? Always, yeah, there's reasons for that. But we're actually programmed to do that. And we're always programmed to have a scapegoat, right? And we're always programmed to look at the bad things all the time because, like, in our early human history, those bad things could be the last things that we ever had happen to us. So it paid, I can't think of the word. People who study this, anthropologists, the theory is basically that this proclivity comes from the fact that we're trying to eliminate the bad actor in the tribe that's going to get the whole tribe killed, right? And so we always want to look for this negative to eliminate the negative. And we all know that if all you ever do is focus on the negative, you're forgetting like the most important stuff, right? These are the things we need to do. The good, you have to do the good stuff. It's one thing to say, okay, yes, we don't want the negative. And that's true, right? But we can't forget to do the positive, because the positive is like the thing that's the whole goal, right? So I think later on, we're going to look back at this time and we're going to say, man, we had a lot of problems, but wow, wasn't it amazing that there was this whole movement that was coming out of this time, and it led to us being more responsible for our own personal well-being. It led to us having more tools to improve our ability to control our emotions. And when I say control, I don't necessarily mean like you're being a robot and you can't feel, you guys know what I mean. We're literally saying, hey, it's not good for me to be in a state of fight or flight all the time. I need rest. I need digest. I need to be able to relax. And if I'm always state of fight or flight, the joke I'm working on, which if you guys know me, you know that I make terrible jokes, and you've gotten used to it. So I appreciate that. But the thing is, like, I think there is, I don't even know if I'm working on the joke. So there's really no joke here, but the thing I've been thinking about and pondering is, if we all learned breath work, if everybody knew breath work and we were able to like use it to not constantly be in that state of fight or flight, not constantly be in anxious and stress mode, would it mean that we eliminate, would just being a jerk not be a thing anymore? And I don't think it would. I think there's some people that literally that's just what they like to do. They like to be jerks. But I do think most of us, I think of the times when I say the things I shouldn't have said, right? I think of the times whenever I'm a jerk, because I'm really great at being a jerk sometimes. I think of those times, and I think of the times whenever, like, for instance, people that I know and love are not being nice, or they're not being their best selves. And generally it's as a result of they're being stressed, full of anxiety, overwhelmed with emotions, things like that, right? And so as we learn to downregulate, as we learn to really be aware, and like I said, I'm still a jerk now and then. It's not like I'm somehow cured of that, but I will say I'm able to, at least as much as I'm willing to, I should say it like that. If I'm not willing to do it, then I just don't do it and I go be a jerk. But if I allow myself to be willing to be aware of my state, oftentimes I can bring myself back and then make a better decision, and not put my foot in my mouth or say something that I'm going to regret later. And any married people here, you know what I mean. So Rye, you've been doing some earthing too. Awesome. Yeah. When it comes to earthing, this is one of those things where for the longest time I have been doing it. I've done it, like I said, all my life, really. Even before I knew it was a thing, I did it. And then someone sent me, I think the most popular, there is a documentary specifically that's really, really popular. And that's where most people learn about earthing. I think it's just called the earthing or grounding documentary. I think that's what it is. But like, I watched that and I wasn't really convinced. And this is why some people get upset whenever I talk about earthing, because I looked at, And the thing is, it wasn't that I wasn't convinced that earthing and grounding was a good for you thing, that is absolutely good for you. But what I wasn't necessarily convinced of was, okay, do I think I can take this evidence and give it to someone who doesn't believe it does anything? And would that convince them, right? That's what when I say, is it convincing or not? It's not necessarily whether I believe it or not. It's just, is it convincing? Would it convince a person who just doesn't, is against it? Because obviously I was already enjoying, I will go outside barefoot year round. It's a great thing. I enjoy it. So when it comes down to it, I just didn't think it was a strong enough argument for it to genuinely be a thing. But the more I've read about it, the more I've done some research, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm working on an episode about it. I've come to believe that I think there's enough empirical evidence that even a doubter would have to at least say, okay, I'm pretty sure this probably has some good merits to it. But here's the thing, even with all the evidence that I've seen, I think there's probably going to be more evidence that we learn in the future. And this is, and I'm probably giving away the whole episode, but so be it. So be it. I've been going live for 45 minutes. This is deep enough into this live. I know people watch these later on, but maybe they won't even get to this point, and maybe it won't ruin it for everybody. But here's the thing. This is what I think we're going to find out about earthing. There was a time whenever we didn't know about exercise. And everybody's always like, what? We've always known about exercise. Well, let me tell you this. There was a time whenever our whole lives were full of physical activity, strenuous physical activity, so much so we didn't need exercise, right? And if you were to say we need to exercise, someone would say, you mean there's a demon? Where do we need to exercise the demons, right? And so, well, I kind of lost my point. That's such an amazing joke. No, but the point is, it wasn't until after the Industrial Revolution that we started to realize that we're having these awful effects of modernity started to kind of creep up to it. And so even as late as the mid 1900s, people were still like, I don't know about this exercise thing. And even the late 1900s, people are like, I don't know about this exercise thing. And so if you were to talk to them, it's like, well, I don't think it really does anything good. Some people would argue it was bad for you to exercise. It was so misunderstood that you couldn't really convince anybody if they didn't want to be convinced. Now we have irrefutable evidence. Exercise is not only good for you, it is something that if you don't do exercise, it's bad for you, right? Later on, now, the big movement that we are all in now is the breathwork movement. It's something, of course, it's an ancient art form. But here in the West, people literally, they'll tell me that, man, I don't want to do that breathwork that you're doing, especially certain ones like the Wim Hof Method. I'm afraid my heart's going to explode, right? They think it could possibly be bad for you. And so we're just now starting to have the science to back it up. No, it's amazing. It's great. If you read my book, I show you some science in that book. And there's even a lot more science out there that it's a great thing. And we're understanding it more and more. There's still more that we need to research about breath work because we still don't understand every tiny little detail, but we get the basics. And I think the same thing is happening with grounding. And the thing is, if you look at it, yeah, I in my book, I talk about the modern human condition and how most of the ailments that we have in the modern world come from not living in a natural state, right? And having the disconnection between our natural physiology and psychology with the world we live in. So I do believe that there is something to that. And I do believe that having constantly, I mean, just our feet health, our feet are just these crammed into shoes all the time. Even if, I think we're going to find that it's more than the electrical charge and that's probably definitely part of it. But I think we're going to find that it's affecting us in more ways. I mean, just think about think about how many, how what's the word I'm looking for? How your senses, like the sensory neurons, you have an enormous amount on your feet. Like there's an enormous amount of information that it seems should be flowing through your body, but whenever you cram your feet into shoes, it just doesn't. So I think we're going to find out more, but I am going to make a video on earthing. I'm also going to make a video on my recommendations for foot health, because that's something I'm really, really passionate about. I just haven't really talked about it much. So get ready to do some foot exercises. So that's going to be a lot of fun. See here. Let's see. Hey, brother, Detroit 470. I love you too, man. Thank you, brother. Let's see here. Where are we going here? So I have, I'm seeing just looks like some conversations some people are having in here in the chat. Let's see. Ice bath. Let's see. Weird entity. That strikes my interest here. Yeah, I take an ice bath every morning and then a lukewarm shower. It keeps me awake in the day and helps me to sleep better at night. Awesome. Let's see. And Eric had to go. All right. So, let's see. Moose Man's key task for me. For every problem, I first have to stop looking for someone else to solve it for me. There's a mic drop right there. So that's so good. For every problem I have, I first have to stop looking for someone else to solve it for me and figure out how I will address it for myself. Right there. The thing is, it's great now. And here's one of the things I will suggest out of all and as I'm getting older, I shouldn't even say it that way. As I've been alive longer, right? If you follow me on Instagram, I made a pretty long post about how I used to be much older than I am right now. And it's true. I was becoming an old man, and I am so much more physically and mentally capable today at 40 years old than I was at 25. Okay. So if you're 25, or if you're 40, lean into your health. But like, I think it really comes down to what you do have to solve your own problems, but it is also nice. Something I have learned, it is also something that's amazing to help someone else when they're having a problem, to take that problem onto yourself and say, let me help you with that problem. Now, having said that, as any father or mother or good parent would tell you, if you solve the problems for other people, you do deprive them of the ability to learn how to solve problems. So I think the best way to be helpful is to be a friend as opposed to being a problem solver, right? And so, and not to mention, it could be that they come up with a better way to solve the problem than you even have. So it is what it is. Hey, Rye, good to see you. Thanks for being here, brother. All right. So Patreon breathwork. Oh, Papa Geek. Let's talk about Patreon breathwork. Let's see. I second that. I also think Jesse is the only creator on YouTube, Patreon overseas that tries to do all these sessions at different times to include everyone. EU gang unite. Well, thank you, Papa Geek. I appreciate that. And that's one of those things where I am so humbled, and I'm really full of I am full of so much gratitude to be able to have been able to meet people and to be close. And I'm actually good friends with people from all over the world, and to be able to have this community, especially in our Patreon club. I mean, every place is represented. We've got a Kiwi, right? So New Zealand. And here's the thing. So I'm trying to figure out the difference between a New Zealand accent and an Australian accent, and I'm getting better. I used to not be able to tell the difference very well, at least, between an English accent and an Australian accent. That's how Midwestern I was. Okay. And this is something that's, I don't know if some of you guys, I'm sure, are not English as your first language, but you know how there's different dialects of your language, right? And English speakers oftentimes forget that there's different dialects of English. And it's something that I've really, as an English professor, right? As someone, I've literally this year was my 10th year as an English professor. So I've been an English professor for a decade, you know, and I love, you know, language. And so, you know, really getting to experience variations within my own language, the different dialects, accents, spellings and all that has just been so great. But when it comes to being a breath worker and when it comes to this movement and this tribe, that's what it's all about. When we say change the world, we don't mean just our little spot, right? We don't mean just you know, you guys. No, it's all of us, right? And so whenever you're in the Breathwork Club, the Patreon Breathwork Club, I do try to make it so that it'll work for different time zones. I know it's never going to be right. My buddies who live in Australia, we have to talk like whenever we just get up or whenever we're about to go to bed. That's the only two times whenever the globe is, you know, whenever we can actually both be awake. And so unfortunately my Aussie friends, they stay up later than I do. I've been a dad for years now. Let's see, how many years I've been a dad. My boy he's going to be 6 soon. And we had some foster kids before. So and our foster kids were like super babies young. And so whenever, man, that changed my whole circadian rhythm. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look here. I have 2 books on grounding. Urine therapy will sort out the obnoxious thing. I don't even know, Dimitri, I don't even know what to make of that one, but I will say that I am a firm believer in grounding, even if I don't believe that we fully understand it. That's the thing. And here's the thing. You don't have to fully understand it to know it's beneficial for me. And I think that's, you know, Wim Hof Method and getting to train with Wim for as long as I got to train with him and work with him. You know, he's had a real impact on my life. And one of the things, you know, I don't look to him as like, he's my great leader who if he says it, then I believe it or anything like that. But what I do look to him as, he's a friend, right? And you know, if you guys if you ever interact with me, I say brother and sister all the time. I never really thought I'd become that kind of a guy, but then again, I didn't think I'd ever grow a beard and hug everybody I meet. So, but I look at Wim as a brother who figured out, I'm just going to listen to myself and, you know, if you don't like it, you know, fine. And I think that's the thing. If like my whole life I've known, and I've always felt, and I even before I knew about grounding, and I'm not trying to be a hipster, even though I guess I've got the beard for it, but I'm just saying that when it came to grounding, I was always like, I feel like I think a human being should touch the planet with his own 2 feet now and then. That was always my little saying. And I always felt like it sounded like a Mark Twain quote or something like that. Of course, I guess that's the English major in me, but I do. I think just out of principle, even if there is no grounding, which I think absolutely there are lots of verified reasons to do grounding, but even if there were not, out of principle, I would walk outside every day and touch the ground with my feet. I think there's just out of principle. I don't know what the principle is, but I think there is. Oh my God. So, let's see here. So Marcos has an issue here. So let's see here. He said, I've been practicing Wim Hof Method for 3 months, but I still suffer to get in the shower in the morning. Is this normal? Marcos, my friend. Yeah, it's normal. It's normal. And I've been practicing Wim Hof Method for how long have I been practicing? I've got to make my next update video soon. So it's like 7 years. I think it'll be 7 years this June I think it's about 7 years. The end of 2013, beginning of 2014. So somewhere around there. The point is, I still occasionally, I still regret. I don't regret. I still have this little inside voice that's like, I don't necessarily want to get into this cold shower right now, or I don't necessarily want to get into this ice bath. And here's the thing, Marcos, this is one of the biggest rewards of either, you could call it specifically Wim Hof method or ice bathing, cold training. I think I specifically look at cold training. I mean, you got to remember, Wim Hof method is one combination of techniques, right? That is a method. But cold training is a training modality, right? And so I think if you just, even if you don't do Wim Hof method, if you do cold training, and this is one of those things where cold training is enormously beneficial to me, but it is something that I have to really force myself to do every day. If I don't force myself to do it, and sometimes I jump in and I'm all happy and silly, right? The thing is, though, you have to really motivate yourself to do it. And if I don't do it every day, I get terrible allergies. All of those things come back if I don't do it. So yeah, it's normal to still to still have those, like, I don't want to get in, So let's see. The cold water is never going to feel warm to you. That is true as well. A lot of people want to make it out to be like, hey, I don't feel the cold anymore. And if that were true, then there's something really wrong with you. Like, think about that. If you couldn't feel cold anymore, like, that's a disorder. I want to have all my senses functioning, right? I'm not trying to deaden my senses. I'm just trying to be in control of my response, right? That's the goal of training, of anything, really. So let's see here. All right. So let's see. Bob, hello. I want to share that the swimming pool in the resort. Ooh, he's at a resort. Nice. In a resort. Okay. I went to have a hot and cold pool. Oh, cool. You went to a resort with they had a specifically for cryo, like a cold pool. Cool. I tried the cold pool below knee height. It had to jump out. Skin were hurting like a million needles. Well, these cold pools, and this is where I'm going to lose some of you guys because I'm going to try. You know what? I'm not going to lose you. I'm going to try to do the Celsius conversion. A lot of these cold pools will be like 40 to 45 degrees. And let's just say it's 40 degrees. That's going to be on the colder end of a cold pool. That's an ice bath. That's what it is, an ice bath. Hey, Tan May, nice to have you here, brother. So, let's see. 40 degrees would be about 4 degrees Celsius. And that's cold. That's super cold. A lot of those cold pools are like that. So, I mean, it's, don't worry about, that. And here's the thing, you tried to get in. Most people wouldn't even do that, right? Most people would be like, nope, not going to do that. I don't like cold. You at least got in. You at least tried, and there's no shame in that. And that's also why I wrote my ebook, A Practical Guide to Cold Training, which, guys, just so you know, I know a lot of you guys already have that. I'm planning on updating it to the 3rd edition, hopefully by this fall. I've got a lot of things going on right now, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get around to it, but hopefully I'll be doing that. And then what I'll do is also be publishing it in a print copy. Finally, I know a lot of you guys like, finally he's going to do that. And believe me, I didn't want to print it yet in paper copy, just because I knew there was going to be more that I wanted to add, but I wanted to help people at least get over that hump. And that's where you're at, my friend, when it comes to that cold pool. Now, what a lot of times, what I loved, like, for instance, when I was in Prague, or at one of this sauna world is what it was called. Actually, it's a cool name. But they have a lot of times you go to a sauna and there's a cold plunge, and you can just get a nice cold plunge, and basically for that shock, and you just jump in, and you can jump right out. A lot of people jump in, and they get back out, but it's, at least they've overcome that threshold of the trepidation. So let's see here. So I'm getting a lot of things here. So, okay. So over here in the UK, it's perfect time for the live feed. I get back from work. Okay, cool. I'm glad it is. And that's the thing. For me, it's a perfect time to do the live feed because my family's not home yet and it's on a Friday. So I usually have finished all of the work that I need to finish by 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. And I'm very blessed to have that happen. Now, what also happens is, as part of my business, I'm constantly doing, interactions with people, customer service, clients, things like that. But the big things, I just decide, nope, 2:00, I'm going to hang out here and do a YouTube live. And I'm glad because I know there's a 5-hour difference between my time and Central European time. And I think it's a 4-hour difference between, I forget exactly all the differences, but I know it's good for European time. It's not quite so good for here in the United States because if you're on the West Coast, it's still, in the morning. It's 11 o'clock and the West Coast. But hey, it's when it works for me. So I've got to kind of go with my schedule on that too. I'm not sure. Andrea asks when the Wim Hof Method Hollywood film is going to be released. I am not sure when that's going to be released. And to be honest, I know this one actually is going to happen, but like there's been rumors and there's even been like, I've seen scenes. I was interviewed for one of the documentaries that was going to come out. There's all sorts of these things that people say, oh, I'm making this movie on Wim Hof. And so I've kind of lost track. I do know that this one really will come out though. There's been a lot more, press releases about it. I would expect it to be out within the year, but I have no idea. So you'll probably find out about the same time I do. I really don't know. Let's see here. Andrea, hi, Jesse. Do you know when the new scientific studies about Wim Hof Method will be released? So I can tell you a little bit. I can tell you this, that they're finally starting to come back. So a lot of things were held up because of the pandemic. And so science specifically, it was a lot of things were shut down. I don't know exactly when they're coming out, but I do know that they're actually working again. And there should be, and I can't really tell you about the one I'm going to be involved with, but we're hoping it's going to be later this year, actually. Oh, dude, yes. So hopefully later this year, we'll be able to do some research and find out more stuff because this stuff works. And we want to bring it to the scientific community to validate what we already believe and to learn things that maybe we don't know. Or, hey, to tell us, hey, you thought this, it's not really this, but it's this thing over here. Awesome. I think that's when you approach this stuff with humility instead of sometimes people get really militant and really, it's got to be this way. And even if the science doesn't show what I believe, then the scientists are they're getting paid off by whoever. At least the science that I've seen, it's all been fantastic, and we have learned things that maybe we didn't really expect. Some of it has been like, yeah, it's doing what you thought you were doing, but it's not doing anything like what you thought. Like the way the mechanism is different, or it's opened up more questions really than answers. And we're like, I don't have any idea why this is doing this, So that's the really, I guess the really intriguing thing is like figuring this stuff out. And also taking into account that even if like, let's suppose you put me into a laboratory and put me through all those tests, the results for me may be different from every other person here today. And that's because there's an enormous amount of diversity in our species. And so in the West, we like to think that we're all robots. And if you put in this code into the brain, it does the same thing. It doesn't. Like we actually have a lot more variation than what we like to believe. And because we don't really want the complication, right? I would prefer to say, is vitamin C good for me? Oh, then yes. How much should I take to get this result? Well, if everyone takes this much, then everyone will receive the same results. And we know that's not true. And it's the same way with everything. So the science is really, it's really cool to see how this is all working out. Yeah, Bob, 4 degrees is cold. Let's see. Rusty, you ask a great question here. Rusty's asking when the Jesse Coomer Hollywood movie is coming out. I didn't want to mention this, but the problem with that is they're not really sure which movie star they're going to allow to play me. Like they're all like, please, I am the most handsome movie star there is. Please let me play Jesse Coomer. And they're all fighting it out. So we'll find out. V. Thomas, hyena breathing. That's going to solve all my problems. That's what it is. Let's see here. I like how you would blood oxygen if you do. Let's see here. Please don't Holly weird Wim Hof. Yeah. Also, let's see. So how much time do you do the Wim Hof breathing through the belly, chest, head? All the time? Also, how much time do you do? So Boke, I think. Also, how much time do you do the Wim Hof method breathing through belly, chest, head? I don't understand the question there, my friend. If you want to revise, the squat sauna in Amsterdam was the coolest. Prague is the best value opera. Oh, cool. Brent, you're in Eastern Standard Time, huh? That's cool. More interested in the movie. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Oh boy, we skipped around here. Breath Master. Okay, Papa Geek in all caps. Breath Mastery course. Life, work, and everything that comes with it didn't allow me to jump on the Breath Mastery course. Timing wasn't right. When is the next one coming up? Okay, good question. So the thing is with the Breath Mastery course, the difference between my course, okay, so I wrote this course, and the difference between my course and all the other courses is that at least the cohorts that I'm doing, and what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try to have a standalone course with pre-recorded videos eventually that you can just take on your own time, right? But everybody else has one of those, right? What I find to be really helpful, I like this. I like being able to interact with my students. I am a teacher. I've been a professor forever. So I actually, I felt like it would be beneficial to do a live class. So the Breath Mastery course, we meet 6 times. Each time we meet for 2 hours, and we cover techniques, we cover concepts. By the time you're done, you'll understand breath work really well. It's 12 hours of classroom time, live classroom time with me. And every single cohort is slightly different. So for instance, if you're in a cohort, it's just like one of these things, right? So you can ask me questions, and sometimes people will email me from the class, or they'll let me know, hey, there's this thing I'm going through right now. This is an issue. Like right now, I have a guy who's got specifically an issue with his digestion. That's one of the big things that he wants to touch on. Well, cool. I'm going to make sure in the lecture, specifically on elements that are going to help him, I'm going to tell him I'm going to focus part of that lecture on that. So the cool thing is about doing the 6-week Breath Master class with me is that it's live, and that, I mean, and this is all for better or worse too. Like if you were on the last one, my laptop closed. And so we had to take a quick break so that I could restart my video camera. But that was as bad as it got. But anyway, the next course, Papa Geek, will be it's going to come up in June. And my team, I actually have a team, and like my team is amazing. Like these are the best. I can't say enough good about these guys. And it's so crazy how we all met. Like it's really amazing. We all live in different places, and just I can't say enough good about them. But we're working on having the next cohort of the 6-week Breath Mastery class start in June, and it will meet instead of 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays, it will meet from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday nights. And that is to accommodate the United States. So Papa Geek, I think you mentioned that you're in Europe. So it might be a little late for you. However, all of the sessions are recorded and you have access to the recordings forever. And in addition to that, you also get the downloadable homework, all of the stuff that is basically, I give you homework all the time. For every week, you'll have homework, you'll have techniques to practice. And by the time we're done with the 6 weeks, every person in the class will probably be practicing a different daily practice, because the goal is to find out what's working, how it's working, understand literally, is this doing what I think it's doing? And then by the time you're done, you've created your own ideal practice. So the nice thing is, Papa Geek, it is going to be in June. It'll start, and it is all recorded. The only thing is the live sessions start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that might be a little late for you. So I hope you can make it. If not, you'll get another opportunity. If you're in the Patreon club, you know that you get a huge discount on the 6-week breath mastery course. So, and that's no matter what tier you're in, you get the discount. So I always take care of my tribe there too. Let's see here. Bob, Wim Hof Method works for me. It's very addiction too. I could reduce my cigarette to just 3 from a dozen a day. Congratulations on that. But I had to stop due to my ear problem, but I still support the community. Well, hey, thanks, man. And here's the thing. When it comes to Wim Hof Method breath work, and when it comes to intense breath work that is that is heavy breath work, that's whenever technique also really can be the difference between causing yourself a great experience or possibly causing some harm to yourself. So that's a good opportunity to really work on your own technique. Anyway, guys, I've been going now for 1 hour and 15 minutes. My wife is home, so I got to get off of here because I got to do what I got to do. If you have any questions that I've not answered, and it looks like you have, there's been a bunch. Guys, I'll be back here next week. Same time, same day, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday afternoon. Feel free to reach out to me. Go to jessecoomer.com. And of course, you can always click the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already done so. Guys, this is an exciting time to be alive. And I'm really, really happy to be here with you guys. So let's see where this is all going to go. Guys, thanks so much. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. Cheers.